So when you look at the fourth quarter, do you feel like that was Noah and T-Mac just kind of improvising playing backyard ball, or do you feel like there was some progress in the offense?
I think there was some progress in the offense. I mean, I think a couple of those plays were things that we had wanted to call earlier in the season, just didn't get to them. But I think anytime you put the ball in a special player's hand, you have a chance for something special to happen.
Justin. What have you seen out of UCF on film?
I think everybody in this conference is good. You know what I mean? And it looks like they have a really active front on defense. I haven't spent any time on their offense yet. It's been all that. But, I think obviously Coach Malzahn has been doing a great job coaching football teams for a really long time, right? And so we're going to play a team on the road. It's going to be another tough game in this conference. They have really good personnel. And, that's one of those things that, I think, both of us have struggled at times this year. And so this is going to be a hard-fought battle.
Michael, they made some changes to their coordinators today. When something like that happens, how do you approach that as a coach?
Yeah, that's always a tricky one because you don't know. I do think it's really hard to make a wholesale change in season. So I would think pieces of what they've done schematically are still going to be part of them. But it is a challenge because it's something different than what you're seeing on the film. Considering that like all of your breakdowns are done and that type of stuff.
David,
Brent, what are you seeing in some of the challenges on the inside run game? I mean, we're seeing guys going to the second level of block, but maybe the guys unblocked on the first level, safeties coming in unblocked. What are some of the issues there?
Well, I think in regards to last week, those safeties were really active. That's why you saw us have a little bit more RPO game in the game plan last week than we had in previous weeks. A little bit of the moving pieces up front. Sometimes either inexperience or just still developing players. Sometimes moving those big people up front is challenging.
And we haven't seen too many long snappers that are involved downfield like what we've seen from Justin Hollowell. Is that a byproduct of the way you do your punt coverage, or is that just his skill set that he's able to get down there?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. It's one of the reasons we went out and got him last year is because we saw that he had the ability to cover. He's obviously an accurate long snapper, and you need that first and foremost. But when those guys can show up in the coverage game, that's an added bonus.
Brian,
what are some of the challenges of having this cross-country trip and from your experience at San Jose with these kind of games? What can you take from this?
Yeah, I think anytime you travel, and you're going on the road, it's something totally different. I think for our football team, the biggest thing is control what we can control, and that was we played a lot of games across the country at my previous stop, and it's always about how you handle the travel and not let that be an excuse, right? Like we know we're going to Florida, like it doesn't matter. It's football field's going to be the same size and width and length. Let's get ready to play.
Michael, regarding the offensive line, some guys switched sides, moved some of the parts around. What was the thought process behind that, and how do you think it worked?
I thought it was better last week than it was the previous week. I thought Michael's a young player and an inexperienced player, but he did some really good things on Saturday. Taking Big Jonah. Want me to stop? We got a semi going through the stadium. But taking Big Jonah over there to our best offensive lineman to protect Noah's blind side, I think makes sense to me. And so there's a ton of conversation with that as we went throughout the course of the week, which is kind of where we were with the injury to Rhino and an injury to some of those other guys that aren't available. So we feel like that was the best configuration for us.
Did you want to kind of balance the experience on both sides too?
Correct.
Yeah.
Justin? So after watching the last few games, I've noticed the broadcasters have been somewhat critical of just the route concepts and how you guys are running routes. Do you think that's fair? And why do you think guys are maybe questioning some of the routes?
That's interesting. I don't watch the TV copy, so I'd be curious to ask those guys what they're talking about. Like, I feel like what we're doing schematically is sound. You know what I mean? And I think one of the challenges that we face has just been a lot of coverage towards T-Mac, and so trying to be creative and move him around and give him a chance to play in different spots in the formation has been a thought process for us. But you know, like what the TV guys say, I don't have any control over that, and I don't hear it. So,
Brian?
With 4 games left in the regular season, is there anyone who maybe hasn't played that you could see getting in there, knowing you can't use the red shirt, waste the red shirt, or are there conversations about maybe limiting some of the guys who've been in only a little bit?
there is, and then there's also the urgency to win this game, and so those are ongoing conversations. You know, I think you might see Etowah play a little bit. I think he can help us in some spots, and with the injury situation that we're experiencing, it makes sense to try and get some of those guys going, because I think there's a benefit for that too, right? Like, as hard as some of those lessons are, you know, we're still building a football program. We're still developing the young players on our team, and the best way for them to do that is in the games.
Michael? When T-Mac starts scrambling on those plays where he's going to throw the ball, what's going through your mind?
Just throw it to the right guy, you know. And I think that's, like I said a couple minutes ago, when you put the ball in the hands of a special player, I think you have a chance for something special to happen. And I thought T-Mac played his tail off the other night. It was just really, really impressive. He's been outstanding all year that way. And I think when your best players play as hard as they do and care as much as he does, I think that's really inspiring for your football team.
When you looked at the film of those 2 plays, did you kind of wonder, like, how did he even see Noah or know where he was?
Well, on the second one, yeah. On the first one, that was like part of the design. So, but on the second one, yes.
Jason?
Montana played probably the least amount of snaps he's played in the game this year. Is that simply a personnel decision, and kind of what went into that?
Yeah, I think just continuing to evaluate all parts of our football team, and we felt like Chris Hunter's been doing some good things, so he's getting a little bit more live game reps, and so Montana's still an important player for us. He's still going to play a lot, but that's going to be, you're going to continue to see Chris Hunter play too.
David?
As well as the defense has played, Brennan, had to be frustrating to give up those 2 big plays. What did you identify as what the breakdowns were on the jet sweep that went for 55 and then the long pass?
Yeah, I think that was frustrating because those 2 big plays kind of broke our back. They're game-changing plays. I think just maybe a little bit a step late, a little bit out of position. And one time we ducked inside on a block where we got to set an edge there and turn it back to our help. So just like a technical detail that ended up being really, really impactful.
And a couple of those offside calls looked questionable, where the guy didn't really look like he jumped or was offside. Get any clarification?
I haven't gotten the official report back yet on the calls we sent in. Like I mentioned it on Saturday night. I thought West Virginia did a good job with their cadence. I thought that I was impressed by their playing that way.
Justin? Of course, Tyler Luke has had a pretty solid year, but how would you look at special teams beyond just him?
I think we need to improve there. I think that's obvious. I think Tyler has been such a weapon. So in regards to like our kickoff coverage, that hasn't been impactful because he hammers the ball out of the end zone every time. You know what I mean? But I think that in the games where we have had issues with that, I think there's been just small details or inexperienced player, trying to find the best guys available to execute those things for us, considering the amount of players that are unavailable to us. And so that's presented some challenges in that space for our football team.
Have you seen Dalton Johnson really take more of a leadership role with some guys out?
Yeah, and Dalton's been a leader for us, even when Gunner and Stukes and Manu were on the field. He's just a consistent football player. He's a tough guy. The guys really respond to him, and he's one of those guys that we needed his voice right now. Without those three leaders on the field, we absolutely need Dalton to continue to step up and be a positive voice for our defense and for our football team.
Brian?
With the missed extra point, what did you see on the film?
I think when Michael put it down, it was just kind of sideways. Yeah.
So, and then I think there was a bad hold or snap on the missed field goal the previous week. Is there any concerns that maybe
that was snap was a little bit off, but I think Michael's been doing a really good job with that all year. He's still a true freshman, and so like him being super comfortable in that space, he's the guy that Tyler has the most confidence in, and he's the guy that we have the most confidence in.
Michael? There's a weird play on the sideline where Jack Latrell knocked the ball out and Owen Goss almost State kid.
Yep.
It's sort of unclear as to what Owen would have needed to do in order for that to be a fumble recovery. He said that he needed to have 2 feet in to establish possession. He also kind of like didn't control the ball.
No, yeah,
on the
no.
ground.
Yeah, the 2 feet in is inaccurate.
That's not.
Inaccurate. So what he needs to do is he needs to control the ball through the ground, just like a receiver diving for a pass, right? You get like, even if you catch it in the air and you go to the ground, right, it's treated the same way. He has to control the ball through the ground. So if he was just able to get that ball on his body, it would have been a fumble recovery.
Jason?
Obviously, there was a change of play callers this season. When you sit down and prepare for the next game, what's the process of kind of implementing the offensive game plan in terms of who has the most say or your input, things like that?
So in those rooms, it's, we initially break up in like run group and pass group, on the control down game plan. And in that room is all the offensive coaches, except for Big Josh and Zoe and some of the young guys in the run game, and they're building the run game plan. And then the pass plan and the run game plan, we come together and kind of go back and forth on what we think all parts of it are going to be. And Coach Babers is involved in that. I'm involved in that. Obviously, Coach Atkins is involved in that. But that we kick that around till late hours of the evening.
Justin? So you talked about the race to maturity and getting these guys up to speed. Where are you at right now, just in terms of guys?
We're still running, man. We are still running, and we're building a football program. And every day there's some challenges that pop up with those young players, but it's also learning opportunities for them, and it's also valuable experience that they're gaining in the process. And as tough as some of those moments are, we got to find the good as we try and correct what's not good, right? And some of those young guys are playing their tails off and giving us good minutes and good reps in games. And so we got to help them fix the things that aren't exactly right. So hopefully they can continue to develop into the players we think they can be.
Michael? Obviously this season hasn't gone the way that you had hoped that it would. You came here to the school with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. The team's a lot to lose, obviously. So how is this whole thing affecting you personally? How have you processed it and deal with it?
I think for me, I'm still excited about this team, and I'm still excited to be here. We have 4 games left, and if we play well, we get to play 5. And I think that part of it is, I look at it, you're always building the football program. You're always developing the players. And to me, that process is ongoing. It never stops. You're still coaching everything. And especially when you have an injury situation like we've had, you have to get guys ready to play. And you have to find the value in that for what their experience is going to be and how that experience is going to pay off for us, hopefully in these games that are coming here. Like Jack Luttrell is going to be better this week than he was last week because he had to play a whole game at free. You know what I mean? And so I think as those moments go, the players continue to learn. We continue to get to coach them off of their film, and they can see themselves in those spots making those plays. So I'm still excited about this team, and I love the University of Arizona. And I know that we're building a program, and I know that there's some tough days when you have young people in the game. Or tough moments, rather.
Brian?
Since we won't see you on Thursday, what's your go-to how weekend?
Oh, that's a good question. So in my office, I have candy in there, and the players come and walk in, but it's all the stuff that I like the most, So it's 100 Grand, which is an incredibly underrated candy bar. It seems to be a fan favorite when players are coming through my office. Sour Patch Watermelons is big in that space. Starburst. Those would be my favorites, I think. What's yours? Reese's. Okay. Reese's is big in the office. Reese's is big Dino Babers' office. That's a big Reese. That's the Reese's capital of our building.
We have time for one more.
Bill Hellman costume growing up?
On Spider-Man. I've been Spider-Man like every year since I was 4 years old. Yeah, it's like literally, I've been dressed as Spider-Man like 20-something times. Yeah, it's my go-to, even before all the movies came out. The costumes are way cooler though than they were when I grew up. And we all grew up with the plastic mask, right? And like the plastic sheet you draped over yourself. It wasn't as cool as like the real life stuff the kids get now.
All right, that's our time.
Thank you guys.